Welcome to Unlocking Potential, a podcast from Baldwin Technology. We're fueled by 100 years of innovation, providing the top hardware, software, and consumables to automate, enhance, and apply intelligence to production processes. Join us and learn how you can unlock your full potential. Hello everyone, and welcome to Unlocking Potential from Baldwin Technologies. The world of security printing is ever advancing. The ongoing challenge is to continually innovate by developing techniques for producing currency, passports, tax stamps, and other secure documents that thwart increasingly sophisticated counterfeiters with the technology at their fingertips to easily reproduce them. From today's state-of-the-art optically variable devices and inks, fibers, threads and taggants, and micro and nanotechnologies, to the next big thing that lies ahead as the industry breaks the boundaries of printing and finishing equipment, Baldwin Vision Systems is a key player in the never-ending quest to assure the newest counterfeit measures are effective. Baldwin's role in assuring the quality of printed currency and other secure financial or government documents is in the design and manufacture of some of the security industry's most advanced customization, inspection, and verification solutions. This is paramount in security printing, where there's no room for error. I'm your host, Tyler Kern, and here with me today are two experts from Baldwin who will talk about the developments, challenges, and opportunities we can expect in 2021 in the security print market. Erwin Wagner is the Global Sales Manager for Security Print at Baldwin Vision Systems. With 25 plus years of developing and providing solutions for security print inspection and verification, his most notable achievement was the design and development of the world's fastest document imaging scanner in 1999. Also joining us is security print veteran Gerry Stanford. With decades of experience, he is Global Sales Leader for Security Print at Baldwin Vision Systems, which includes retrofit inspection products as well as complete inspection, print, and defect management production lines for banknotes, tax stamps, and other high-security documents and materials. So, Erwin and Gerry, welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you very much, Tyler. Thank you for hosting this and for having us on today.
Yeah, Tyler, pleased to be with you.
Well, it's a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with both of you. I'm excited to hear a little bit more from your expertise and your insights. Erwin, I want to start off with you. Let's start with a brief synopsis of security printing and how it's different from other types of printing.
I mean, there are several different things that differentiate security print from the many other types of print, such as newspaper, magazines, packaging, or labels. And it starts with the actual substrate that the print will be applied to. It is, first of all, significantly more complex and already includes security features such as watermarks, colored and fluorescent fibers, embedded security threads, windowed or interwoven stripes, and other features not used for regular printing. Many countries have even converted to different substrates, to polymer or hybrid substrates with very intricate layering. Security substrates are usually UV light absorbing, also often referred to as UV dead. Not to be morbid. The next difference is the actual print process. Other or conventional products, printed products are usually printed on just one printing machine or printing line. Security products have multiple processes applied on various different printing and or processing machines. So the substrate may first be processed on a simultaneous offset press, printing both sides at the same time in full registration, then a screen printing press, and then run through a patch application process, a hot or a cold foil application or stamping machine, an embossing process, run through an intaglio printing press, and then through a press printing serial numbers and or barcodes on the product, and they may then receive a varnish coating. So quite a few more processes than just conventional print. Another difference is in the inks used for security printing. These are very special inks and are only available to security printers. They also have various different types of unique overt and covert properties. Examples are optically variable inks, magnetic inks, visible and invisible luminescent inks, laser activated inks, inks sensitive or reactive to different chemicals, thermochromatic, photochromatic inks, penetration, bleed-through inks, and tamper-proof inks, just to name a few examples. So these features mentioned so far are level 1 and 2 security features. There are also level 3 security features that are so protected and secretive that not even the printers working on the press applying these are often aware of their properties or even existence. Industry also, meanwhile, even distinguishes two levels of security print, just, regular security print and high security print. High security print includes products with a larger number of security features. Good examples are banknotes, passports, revenue tax stamps, and other security product that requires special printing presses, for example, intaglio presses, and other equipment only available to certified security printers. So let's go ahead and grab a banknote, preferably $100 bill, and also a newspaper or magazine page. Just look at the two. Compare the two, feel the two, and hold them against light, for example. The difference between a regular printed product and a security printed product becomes quite obvious when you perform that task.
Erwin, I'm short of a couple $100 bills right now, so if you could just send some of those my way, that way I could perform the test. That would be really helpful. But it's obvious that you have a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience in this area. So tell us more about your background and how you're involved in this unique industry, and tell us kind of what are some challenges that you've really seen and experienced over the last several years.
Oh, plenty of challenges, Tyler. But I would start off by saying that I actually feel very lucky that I've experienced two very interesting careers in my life, and each on a different continent. So the first was in automation and robotics in Europe back in the 80s, and the second in security print. So my first exposure to security print was probably when I was a young child and was handed my first banknote. So my reaction back then was probably something like, "All mine, precious, my precious." Okay, but the question was about experience, right? So my first experience with security print was in the early 90s when I was hired as a support engineer by a company right here in Kennesaw, Georgia. The company manufactured check MICR numbering machines. So these are the numbers printed at the bottom of checks that banks use to verify or to reconcile the checks. So this company also had a division in England that manufactured camera-based inspection and verification systems for serial numbers and barcodes. So this division was purchased from a security printing company in England and was one of the first entities manufacturing inspection systems for security print, or basically any type of print, and that was back in the mid-1970s. So when I first got involved with these systems, everything was very proprietary, all cameras, circuit boards, the cables, the lighting systems, well, pretty much everything, except for a few components, were manufactured in-house. So only as I remember, the trigger sensors, optical shaft encoders, the camera lenses, and the halogen light bulbs for the lighting systems were bought-in items. So you asked about challenges. So that in itself, provided quite a few challenges. The greatest being to further develop these systems and add functions, with any reasonable time frame. So back then we were providing these quality control systems to security printers around the world, And it's an industry I continue to be immersed in ever since. I guess once you're in it and get hooked, it keeps you. It doesn't let you go.
That's fascinating.
So supporting these systems led to also getting involved in developing the systems further, then helping transition them to a computer-based and Windows OS platform. And that was when computers finally started to have sufficient resources, provided the architecture and the processing power required for the very complex image processing, the analysis, and to perform inspection and verification at the actual printing speeds. We back then called these high-speed number and barcode verification systems. So in addition to the interest, sorry, that's my squeaky chair that I've been sitting on for the past 27 years. So yeah, in addition to the interest in the actual camera systems for retrofitting on their existing presses, customers also began expressing interest in complete standalone solutions. And back then being a machine building company, we started to design and build these custom solutions with an added value, by integrating a process or more that was actually required by our customer to produce their own product. The inspection systems or quality control systems we provide are really not needed by our customer to produce their product. They're only needed to produce a good quality product. So we're always the last ones to receive the order if there is money left over for the quality control system. So some of the processes we added back then were sorting, packing, marking, and even printing. So all of a sudden we were able to provide a product that the customer actually needed to print or produce their product. And that put us in a much better position. So this was also the time when I was challenged with designing, building, and delivering the world's fastest document scanner, which I believe is my only claim to fame. And this system, a large machine, processed up to 10 documents per second, scanning both sides of the sheet. So that's 20 sides, if my math is right, per second. But this is actually a separate and long but interesting story that we can maybe cover, let's say, in episode 20 of this podcast series.
That would be great.
Okay, so several years later, when the owner of the company retired and closed the plant, two of my colleagues in England that I pretty much worked with for the past 10 plus years, and I ended up acquiring the inspection camera division. We had the company for around 10 years, continuing to provide inspection solutions as well as standalone solutions with new partner companies that provided, for example, the sheet transport or other special equipment. And after losing one of these partner companies manufacturing a print quality inspection system, I discovered a company in Gurnee, Illinois named PC Industries. They appeared to offer the best print quality inspection technology at the time. So this was also the time that Gerry, working at PCI at that time, and I started to work together. I later merged my company and its technology with PC Industries, and with that, exposed PCI deeper into security print. And then a couple of years later, PC Industries, another company named Web Process Control, and QuadTech were acquired by Baldwin to form a new division, Baldwin Vision Systems. And this pretty much takes us to where we are today.
That's incredible, and I loved the Lord of the Rings reference there at the there at the beginning with the first banknote. That was fantastic. And you brought up Gerry, and we've let Gerry be quiet for far too long here on this podcast. So, Gerry, let's get into your story. What brought you to Baldwin initially, and how did you come to specialize in security printing?
Well, prior to Baldwin, I was director of sales at PC Industries. And at PCI, we specialized in providing print quality, variable data verification, and similar systems to printers and converters. One of the products we developed is the Guardian PQV inspection system. And that system has had continual development and remains a key part of our security solution to this day. PC Industries' focus was on advanced applications in prime label and pharmaceutical, as well as security. When we started working with verification systems in Irwin, as Irwin just mentioned a minute ago, security applications became a larger part of our business. Irwin and I frequently worked together on these projects, and we learned we have similar technical backgrounds and career experiences. And that shared understanding has allowed us to work in a complementary way as we introduce and present our capabilities and solutions to our customers. In late 2017, Baldwin acquired PC Industries and joined us with the two other companies Irwin mentioned, Web Printing Controls and QuadTech, to form Baldwin Vision Systems. Through this joining of complementary companies, Baldwin Vision Systems now offers the print industry's most advanced color management and inspection technologies across all print markets. In the first 2 years after acquisition and the forming of BVS, Baldwin sales to global security market continued to grow. It became clear to us that to best serve these global customers with their unique requirements, we really needed a dedicated security print team with technical and international experience. And of course, Irwin was already focused on security print, and at that time, I moved into the new role of global sales leader to lead our team and grow our business in this area.
Well, that's fantastic. And Gerry, it sounds like you and Irwin formed such a fantastic team here in this area. Irwin, what are some of the most significant advances you've seen over the past 10 years that have evolved security printing? And maybe tell us a little bit more about working alongside Gerry and what that partnership has provided as well.
Okay, yeah, there are actually quite a few. One of the major changes I've experienced within this time frame was the acceptance of digital print and security printing. Just as an example, the serial numbering and or barcoding in security print was always performed using impact or crash printing. So this required complex mechanical or electronic numbering machine, each about the size of a fist, that were also quite costly. They're high precision instruments. So, the numbering, for example, on banknote sheets of 5 by 10 banknotes requires 100. I mean, it's still performed this way, but it requires 100 of these numbering machines mounted on printing cylinders on dedicated printing presses. Other products, such as revenue tax stamp sheets, with as many as 600 plus stamps per sheet, make it highly uneconomical, as well as really physically impossible to print a serial number or barcode or both on each stamp using this old conventional method. You can imagine each machine being the size of a fist. They just wouldn't be able to fit these on the cylinder. So drop-on-demand inkjet printing systems started to be used and accepted in security print. They were the only option. And with the development of newer inks, such as covert UV fluorescent, IR opaque, inks with magnetic particles or laser activated inks, this technology actually has much more room to run. Other significant advances have been made with OVDs, which are optically variable devices, OVIs, optically variable inks, and new, very hard to counterfeit characteristics on security threads and stripes. The windowed stripe on the newest series $100 bill is a very good example. Just take one of these out of your wallet. You mentioned you don't have any, but just try to find one, or please get one. and take a close look at it. Tilt it back and forth as well as sideways. The optical effects you see are referred to as motion, since the pattern on the stripe moves when the note is tilted in various different directions. So now I'm just going to get back at you. If you please get an envelope as well, and I'll give you my address so that you can mail me that note, so that I can inspect it further, and I'll be glad to also spend it for you.
And I'm sure you would spend it very, very wisely, and I appreciate that. Yeah, as soon as I get one, it'll come your way.
All right, thanks. Yeah, yeah. So another example of an advance in the technology would be well, there are quite a few. As I mentioned earlier, but the transition to synthetic polymer banknotes is an excellent example as well. Back in 1988, there was only one country that issued these. It was Australia. Then in 2014, there were 22 countries, and today there are 47 countries, including Canada and Mexico, issuing polymer notes. And even though even polymer, it costs twice as much to produce these notes, they end up being more economical because they last about 3 times as long as paper notes. And by the way, we call them paper notes, but these banknote paper is actually not your conventional type of paper. It's really a blend of cotton and linen fibers. So U.S. dollar bills, for example, are 70% cotton and 30% linen. So no worries if you forget to take a note out of your pocket and it ends up rotating in a washing machine for an hour or more. You can just take it out, with the rest of your clothes and hang it up to dry.
Yeah, I can imagine hanging some banknotes up to dry. That yeah, I can see how that would work.
But just don't do it outside; they'll be gone. Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't promote money laundering, of course, but
very good. Very good.
That's good. That's very good. Gerry, did you have anything you wanted to add on to Erwin's answer there, just about some of the most significant advances you've seen over the last 10 years or so?
I think one of the things that's really fun and challenging at the same time about security print is that, as Erwin has explained, companies in this industry are constantly moving requirements of security print techniques, both tangible and otherwise in the products. And so it requires companies like ours to continually advance and develop our solutions to meet the needs of these customers and to stay ahead of counterfeiting threats, in the broad market. So that's, for me, that's probably, again, one of the most fun and exciting things about working in this industry is it requires us to stay on top of new developments constantly.
That is interesting, and I suppose that just reminds me of the fact that that when things move as quickly as they do, that it does require a lot of innovation and constant checking to make sure that you're staying ahead of the game in terms of security and that sort of thing, right? So that seems like it's a 24/7 endeavor.
Yeah, there are teams out there in this industry that I'm sure are working today on designing new elements that will go in banknotes that we won't see out in the public for 3 or 4 years, and so there's that work is always going on in the background.
Yeah, I can actually add to that. The windowed thread that I mentioned earlier is actually one of the security features we developed and provided a camera-based quality control system for. So in these systems, we're already inspecting the feature, this windowed thread feature, several years before these notes actually went into circulation. So but the industry being as secretive as it is, I'm unfortunately not allowed to provide any further details on that.
That makes sense. You got to keep your secrets close to the vest and can't reveal them on podcasts. But so that makes sense. But Gerry, as we begin to come to the end of our podcast conversation today, what can people look forward to on upcoming episodes of the podcast? What are you excited about discussing and getting into here on future episodes of Unlocking Potential?
Yeah, sure. I'll be happy to share that. So In future podcasts, I think Erwin and I would like to talk more about developments in key areas of security print and how Baldwin can support our customers in those areas. Some of these topics are, we'd like to discuss the benefits of a modular, customized, standalone solution for complete quality control. Another area would be, we're going to present flexible solutions for today's tax stamp printing, verification, and authentication. And then a third area would be, we will share details about how Baldwin and our sister company, BW Paper Systems, are joining forces to provide complete solutions for web to sheet converting for security print.
Well, Erwin and Gerry, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here on the podcast today. I'm looking forward to many more episodes in the future as we discuss more and more about what sets Baldwin apart, the things that you do in this industry, and the amazing advances that have been made over the last several years. And so, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Unlocking Potential. Absolutely. And everyone, as you heard Gerry mention, we have plenty of episodes coming up on the podcast. So you're going to want to subscribe to the podcast to stay up to date with the latest episodes, to make sure that you get those directly there on your phone or however you listen to these podcasts. You can subscribe at Apple Podcasts or Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts these days, basically. Go make sure you subscribe to stay up to date with the latest in thought leadership and insights from the folks at Baldwin Technologies.